Alright guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another little out and about video. So for this one, I am in Sturchley, which is in the southern part of Birmingham in England, and we're going to have a look at a brewery that is really quite highly regarded these days, and I think we can pretty much call them a kind of up-and-coming brewery. I've been finding their beers over in Denmark and Sweden in recent times, but I held off trying any of their stuff because I knew I was actually going to be coming and visiting them. So yeah, very cool to be here. Let's go and have a little look at Glasshouse Brewery. I'm very curious to see what these guys have got in store for us. So we'll do as we always do. We'll go in, we'll have a little look at the tap list and things like this. We'll try a few of the beers, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy another out and about video, and there will be a few special guests in this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, well, time for our walk around here at Glasshouse Brewery. I'm actually having to film this toward the end of my time here because, as you'll see in the second tasting, the sky just opened and the rain came down, so we had to kind of move about. So yeah, the ground is a little bit wetter than you might have seen in our little introduction. But as you can see, Glasshouse Brewery is just kind of in the middle of an industrial state here in Sturchley. So we actually had to walk around the back of these buildings and all the way around here past this old army van that you can see to get in. So yeah, you can see outside they've got these two nice tents that you can sit under. When it was raining, the water basically filled up there and they had to push it over the side, so lots of splashes. But yeah, they have got this nice little outdoor area here. You can see a container that you can sit in front of, which has the Glasshouse symbol. But when you walk in, it's very straightforward. You've got some nice tables and things here that you can sit in, and yeah, basically a bar built in front of the brew kit. So yeah, you can see Adam's at the bar chatting with people. You've got Harry and Charles over there just chilling, and yeah, this is their brew kit up the back. So that is the kind of boiling kettles and things, and then you've got the fermenters over here. So yeah, this is Glasshouse Brewery in Sturchley in Birmingham. So yeah, that's a little very quick walk around for you. Alright guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Glasshouse Brewery. So as I said earlier, this is the very first time I'm trying anything from Glasshouse, but these guys are really well regarded when it comes to, you know, New England, hazy, whatever you want to call them, pale ales, IPAs and stuff like this. So the beer that we're going to have a look at first is a recommendation from Adam of Mersey Beer, who I'm sure will feature in the video a little bit later on. But yeah, this beer comes in at 6.2% ABV. It was originally called Bumpy Acres and it's now just called Acres. So yeah, let's do it. So this one, New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. When it poured, it had about a half finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. You can see colour wise this one is quite nice and quite a deep sort of yellow mango juice colour type thing. Yeah, it looks really nice. I mean, remember, the colour of your beer depends on the different types of malts that you use, the length of your wort oil and so on. A little bit of visible carbonation in this one. Other than that, not too much to say. It's pretty much as you would expect from a New England IPA. Let's dive into the aroma then and have a wee look at this. Very curious. Yeah, I mean, straight away with this one, it's a big kind of smooth, creamy, juicy sort of thing. With the malt base, I'm getting a mix of like white bread. There's a wee bit of bread crust in there. Definitely some nice kind of thicker wheaty notes. You can smell a little bit of that sort of dry, torrefied wheat thing to it. A little bit of wheaty bitiness in the back of the nose too. Not too much in the way of oats. It's not got too much in the way of a kind of creamy oat thing to it. It does smell more sort of white bready, and not too much of a sweet component on the malt base either, but at 6.2% ABV, you wouldn't expect all that much of that, to be honest with you. On the hoppy side of things, green component, very bright, very floral, some nice kind of zesty, grassy characteristics to it. It didn't say what hops were in this one right enough, but yeah, for me, very floral in the beginning. There is a wee touch of herbal character in there as well, maybe a teeny little bit of earthiness, not a lot, but yeah, green component really leans towards that kind of big floral aromatic sort of thing, but a good little bit of grassy zestiness as well. On the fruity side of the beer, yeah, on the fruity side, it's actually kind of quite well balanced. I'm getting a little bit of, I'm getting a bit of that soft tropical sort of thing to it. Definitely a wee bit of juicy mango, wee bit of kind of drier apricot and stuff like that underneath. Not too much in the way of the more potent fruits, like grapefruit, passion fruit, stuff like that. But yeah, not too much in that. More a kind of soft mango-y, apricot-y type thing. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of like a more kind of, I'm getting a little bit of a kind of limey note out of this, which is quite interesting. But yeah, the fruity side of things goes together quite nicely. Mix of tropical, wee bit of lime, as I say. I think that's all we need to say on the aroma. Let's have a wee taste of this one and see how we go. So yeah, this is the Acres 6.2% New England IPA from my very first beer here ever from Glasshouse. Never tried one of these before. Slàinte, skål, cheers. I'm going to say straight away, that's pretty damn solid. First impression of it is it's a really nice, smooth, kind of wet-leaning New England IPA. It has got a bit more oat to it than I thought it would from the aroma. You definitely get a wee bit of that oaty presence in the middle of the palate there. But yeah, I like this. Gets a thumbs up from me. There are quite a few other ones on tap here. Of course, it is mainly New England pales and IPAs and stuff that they have on here. But yeah, taking Adam's recommendation on these kind of beers is always good. That's why we went for this one. Yeah, let's break this down for you a wee bit more and describe it a bit more in depth. So yeah, middle of your palate then. Nice wee bit of kind of fresh white bread crust. That's forming the backbone of the beer. On top of that, you've absolutely got some nice kind of fresh white bread, pale malt sort of thing. Further back on the palate, you can feel that sort of more torrefied, dry wheat sort of thing, but there is a wee bit of bitiness to the wheat coming out of this one as well, which is nice. In the middle of the palate, you do get a little bit of oatiness, but I think this beer is really quite light when it comes to its oaty character, to be honest with you. In the dead centre of your palate, you do get a little tiny bit of, there is a wee teeny little bit of biscuity character to it, but this one is really not that sweet on its malty side of things. But yeah, pardon me, breathing it in a little bit the wrong way. But yeah, in terms of its maltiness, this is quite nice actually. More a kind of bready, wheaty leaning New England for me. We'll need to see if the other ones lean a bit of a different way, but you can get quite a bit of diversity in the malt bases of these beers. On the hoppy side of things then, green component, definitely a wee bit of earthiness in the back of the palate for sure. As you come further forward along the sides of the palate, a wee bit of herbal character, but it very quickly gets quite bright and floral. Round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit more kind of light and grassy, but I would say that overall the green component in this beer is actually really quite wet. It's got a nice kind of wetness to it overall. So yeah, it's nice. On the fruity side of things then, front third of your palate, the base of that front third of your palate is definitely quite bready. You know, it's leaning towards that white bready sort of thing, then all the fruitiness comes out on top. So yeah, toward the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a little bit of a kind of passion fruity note to it. As you move further forward, it's a bit more juicy and kind of mango-like. Then you've got a wee bit of apricot underneath. Do get little bits of pineapple into the aftertaste. So this one, it really is a very kind of tropical leaning New England IPA, this one for sure. But then as you move toward the front of the palate, I'm getting just a wee bit of, little bit of a kind of limey note out of, just a wee touch of that lemony limey note, and a wee bit of zestiness behind the grassy part at the front. Yeah, very nice New England IPA, as I said though. Mouthfeel wise, pretty much right in the middle of the spectrum. Carbonation is really nice and smooth. It has got a wee bit of wetness to it. Yeah, it has got a good wee bit of wetness to it, as I say. But yeah, mid-bodied, wee bit of creaminess, wee bit of bitiness for sure. Yeah, malt base is quite smooth, not really sweet, wee bit dry. On the hoppy side of things, it's about 30 IBUs. and yeah, you've got that nice juicy tropical fruitiness to it. I have to say that is a really nice introduction to Glasshouse Brewery. So yeah, 6.2%. This one, simply called Acres, originally called Bumpy Acres New England IPA. We'll see what else we're going to try, but that is your first tasting here at Glasshouse, my very first Glasshouse beer ever. Catch you guys in just a second. Alright guys, so just to let you have a little look at the tap list here today at Glasshouse Brewery. So yeah, as you can see, a few different things here, but mainly different kinds of IPA and Pale Ale. So first off, they have the Bringing Seshi Back, a Session Pale Ale. They've got one of their Soloist series, the Soloist Strata. The hop, of course, on that rotates quite a lot. The Noli Pale, the Julie Raspberry Pale, the Jagged Sky IPL, Live and Direct, or Live and Direct, I'm not sure exactly. The Deep Seeded, 22 of the 6th, so 22nd of June. That's a rotating one from what I understand. At the Oka Pale Ale, the Observations Scott's Birthday Pale, In All Keys, which is a Pale Ale, Acres Cryo Simcoe IPA, and then the Sakura IPA. So yeah, that is your tap list here at the very beginning of July 2022 in Glasshouse. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 2 then. So, because of my connections to Japan, there was a beer called Sakura. I thought, why not? So, yeah, Sakura, it's another New England IPA, this time 6.3% ABV. This one has Mosaic and Nelson Sauvin in it, so half American, half New Zealand. We know these hops quite well. It's a classic combination, why not? So, when this beer poured, it came out with about a 1/3 finger, frothy, perfect white head. You can see that's faded away now. This one looks a little bit brighter than the other beers that we've had. So yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass. There is a kind of steady stream of carbonation going up toward the top, but it looks very nice. You can see good level of haze on this one. So remember, in these New England IPAs, level of haze depends on the oak content, the wheat content, and the yeast to a degree as well. But for a 6.3%er, I think that is pretty good. Yeah, I think that's everything we need to say about the appearance for this one. Let's have a wee look at the aroma and see what we get. Yeah, this one, it just seems very familiar. As we say, Mosaic and Nelson Sauvin are hops that we know very well. You know, Mosaic, 14% alpha acid American, gives you lots of nice tangerine notes. Nelson Sauvin, New Zealand, about 16% alpha acid, big sort of white, green, grapey, sometimes gooseberry type notes, I guess you could say. Yeah, always quite nice. But yeah, aroma wise, you pick those out straight away if you know these hops. Yeah, starting to rain now, but Scottish, Swedish, I'm just going to ride this out, fuck it, why not. Yeah, on the malty side of things, straight away with this one, you get a little bit of bread crust, it's very nice. You get a little bit of a good kind of white bready sort of thing. I think we might actually have to pause this because it is getting a wee bit heavy. Alright guys, so just took a few steps back, well, it did actually get pretty heavy. I thought it was just going to drizzle, but it wasn't. But yeah, as I say, with the malt base on this one, you've got a little bit of a kind of fresh white bread crust with it. You can smell that typical sort of soft white bread from the pale malt, absolutely. What I would say about this one though is that it's definitely more kind of oaty and creamy than the Acres was. So this kind of shows you Glasshouse are playing around with their malt bases, experimenting a little bit and showing you the different ways that this style can go, because this one is absolutely more oaty than the last one that we had. So you do get a little bit of that kind of wheaty bitey sort of thing in the back of the nose. You do get some of that, but really this one leans more toward it really leans toward a more oaty, creamy sort of thing. Absolutely. You do get a wee bit of sweetness out of this one, you know, a bit of that Werther's original butter candy, butterscotchy type note. I think there is a little bit of golden promise in this too, because you get a wee bit of, you know, McVitie's digestive biscuity kind of character out of it. So yeah, that's quite interesting. That is quite interesting for sure. Yeah. I think that's everything we need to say about the malty side of this beer. On the hoppy side of things, for me, this one, it has a wee bit of a herbal, earthy sort of note to it, for sure, which is quite interesting because Mosaic, you always associate a little bit of earthiness with that. Nelson Sauvin is giving you that big floral note though, but remember, New England IPAs rely mainly on late addition hopping and dry hopping, so you don't get the same dankness with New Englands that you do with West Coast, as I've mentioned in many a review before. So this beer has a nice big bright floral note to it. You've also got that lovely big kind of grassy, you also have that nice big sort of grassy, zesty character coming out of this one. But on the fruity side of things, it's really, really oily. You get that big sort of gooseberry type thing. Yeah, you've got that nice big kind of gooseberry note from the Nelson Sauvin, but you've also got a lovely big kind of tangerine orangey character coming out of this one. These are all things you expect from Nelson Sauvin and Mosaic, of course. So yeah, for me, it seems very, very familiar, this beer. A nice big oaty, creamy, tangerine orange and sort of gooseberry, white green grape sort of thing. I don't think I get anything else out of that. This one is really just what you would expect if you know these hops, to be honest with you. But like I say, a bit different from the acres that we had before. I think it's about time that we had a little look at this beer then. So yeah, this one is the Sakura, 6.3% New England IPA, my second Glasshouse beer. Slange it, skull, cheers.
Obviously, I've got a nice big.
Ooh, yeah. That's very, very nice. For me, first impression of this one is big, big, creamy New England IPA. It's got a good little bit of oily character to it as well, which I really like. And it has got a wee touch of sweetness to it. I really like this one. I like the other one as well. I like the acres. But this one for me just feels, it shows you another part of the New England, shows you another side of the New England IPA spectrum, which is good. So yeah, you can see why Glasshouse are quite highly rated in this particular style, that's for sure. There are a few other styles on tap that we'll try in later tastings, but yeah, I certainly like how this one is going together.
Alright, Nobby, what the fuck are you doing? You've got.
Yeah, let's break this down then. So, backbone of the beer, you've got a nice little bit of that kind of bread crusty thing across the middle of the palate. There's a wee bit of a kind of, there is a wee bit of a kind of Jacob's cream cracker in there as well. A lot of white bread on top of that, and you can feel that the wheat is sort of thickening this beer out, absolutely. On the back third of the palate, there's definitely a wee bit of that wheaty bitiness. That takes a bit of a back seat. It comes out a wee bit more in the aftertaste, but middle third of the palate, lots of nice, big, smooth, creamy oats, and almost a wee touch of a porridgey character right in the middle of the palate. There's a teeny wee bit, there is a tiny little bit of a sort of butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing coming out of this one. Wee bit of biscuit as well. This one does have a nice little bit of complexity in the malt base, which I quite enjoy. You guys know I love a big sweet malt base. But yeah, this beer, this one, I mean, flavour wise, malt base wise, this one suits me down to the ground. On the hoppy side of things, yeah, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of earthiness. As you come further forward though, that very quickly disappears to become more bright and floral. And as you go around the front curve of the palate, it's absolutely a little bit more grassy. And the grassiness feels quite wet, like fresh, wet, fresh cut grass, could we say. But the floral notes are also quite wet. The green components in both of these beers that we've had so far have been quite wet. The fruity side of things is exactly what you would expect. So yeah. Then this is interesting because the base of that front third of your palate with the fruits is a little bit more. The base of that kind of front third of your palate is a wee bit more sort of gooseberry-like. Yeah, the Nelson Sauvin is definitely forming the base of this beer. You get a bit of the gooseberry, and as you come further forward, you get a wee bit more of the oiliness out of that. It's maybe a little bit more grapey and sultana-like further back. But on top of that, you've got the nice big tangerine orangey notes from the Mosaic as well. So yeah, I really like that about this beer for sure. The oiliness that it has in the fruit really strikes a chord with me. So it gets a thumbs up from me. I think I like this one a little bit better than the Acres. But yeah, the way that this goes together is very, very nice. On the mouthfeel side of things then, what can we say about this?
West Coast.
Yeah, on the mouthfeel side of things, for me, this is pushing top end to mid-body, bottom end to full-body. The carbonation is quite smooth. It is quite creamy, but at the same time, I find this beer quite oily. In terms of its IBUs, I think I think this one's quite low. I think this is about 20 IBUs at most. Malt base is big, smooth, and thick. Creamy, as we said, a little touch sweet, and then the fruity side of things is nice and big and oily. I like that. The Sakura gets a big thumbs up from me. I think I like this one a little bit better than the Acres. But as I said, both high quality New England IPAs. So that's the end of tasting number 2. Let's leave it at that for this one, and we'll see what else we can catch. We can look at in the next ones for you. Maybe something that's a different style. Catch you guys in just a second. So yeah guys, you can buy yourself some Glasshouse t-shirts here. As you can see, this little triangle is the Glasshouse symbol, but yeah, if you come round, there you can see the other side as well. So this is a Bringing Seshi Back t-shirt. There you can get a little closer look at the Glasshouse symbol. Here on the white t-shirt as well, and then you've got the grey one. So Harry wants to get a grey t-shirt apparently, but yeah, those are your Glasshouse merch t-shirts. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 3 then, and as you can see, I'm joined by Adam of Mersey Beers.
Right.
So yeah, this is the first time that Adam and I have been able to kind of sit down together and film a review, other than at Dig Brew, which we did with Harry. So our first dual review, which is quite nice because Adam's contributed a lot to my channel over the years. So the beer that we're going to look at now is a slightly different style from what we've had before, but you guys were quite determined I should try one of these.
Harry advised that this was the brewer's prized recipe.
Yeah. So the beer we're going to have a little look at is called Jagged Sky. It's 5% on the button, and it's an IPL.
Yeah.
So yeah, India Pale Lager, hot with Amarillo. As you'll know, one of my favourite hops, 12% alpha acid American, big oily orangey things. What's not to like? So appearance-wise, as you can see, this is a lovely kind of typical pale golden straw type thing. When it poured, about a half finger of a frothy, I would have said cream coloured head. Fairly, you've got a fair bit of carbonation visible in this one, but not madly.
It's raising up. You can see it raising up the side of the glass.
Yeah, exactly. It's doing all that. Other than that, I don't think we need to say anything about the appearance of this one. It's what you would expect from, a Helles Lager, an IPL, whatever. Aroma.
Yeah.
Let's go for the aroma.
Grapefruit.
Grapefruit. Ah, okay.
Pink grapefruit.
See, for me, I get more of a bright orange. I get that big oily orange. Yeah. It's interesting. Like different people can see different hops in different ways. But it does. I think it does have a wee bit of an almost cascadey type thing to it. So I can see where you're coming from.
Grassy.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, malt base wise, it's you get a bit of bread crust, but a lot of just soft white bread. Maybe a wee teeny hint of biscuit, but this isn't the sweetest of lagers. It's actually quite bready and Helles-like in some ways.
I'm expecting a dry finish.
Yeah. The thing is that's interesting about this though, with an IPL normally, this is only 5%, so this is actually quite light in the ABV.
And this is the upper range. It said, when I had a quick look at the information on the tap, it said that it varies between 4.7 and 5. This edition is 5, but it has been as low as 4.7, so it does vary depending on brew.
Okay. So it could just be more like a kind of heavily hopped Helles or something like that. Could be. Because in my experience, the IPL is normally like 6.5, something like this. And I find if you take them higher in the ABV like that, they're very difficult to balance.
They can go low. I've had some IPLs that have been as low as 4. I think depends on how much malt you put into it.
Exactly, yeah. I think. But for me, this has got a nice sort of bready Helles base. Wee bit of biscuit. It does have a wee bit of biscuit the more you smell of it, I think. Green component, as Adam was saying earlier, for me, it's actually it smells almost a little bit noble. I get a wee bit of that earthiness, a wee bit of the herbal thing that you might expect from Hallertau or Titnanger or whatever. But overall it leans toward that grassy end of the spectrum. I think it's light and grassy.
Dry grass.
Yeah, but it's not like a fresh, wet cut grass. But I found in the two IPAs so far, the green component's been really wet, so I'm curious about this. Fruity wise, Adam was saying grapefruit. I think it's a big oily orange.
Pink grapefruit, just when you get this that fresh morning pink grapefruit when it just has the tinge and you can almost smell the citrus on it.
Yeah. It's nice. I mean, it smells very nice anyway. I'm really curious about this. Anything else you want to say about the aroma?
No, just I'd say a bit straw-like. I know we talked about the grass, but it is very dry, almost straw-like.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it smells very nice anyway. I mean, I love Amarillo. I'm very curious to try an Amarillo hopped IPL. I think this is the first time on that actually.
It's the first time I've had a single hopped IPL.
It's interesting. But yeah, let's get stuck into this one. Cool to have Adam along for his first dual tasting, I guess we can say, on the channel. So yeah, Jagged Edge, 5% IPL Amarillo. Cheers. Slange it. There you go. Ooh, that's nice.
Definitely got that bitter hop component.
It is. It's got that big. For me, the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know. I just tend to go to malt first. Maybe it's the Scotch ales that make me do that. But used to big malt forward beers. For me, it's like a really nice bready Munich Helles. But then yeah, you get that dry grass, and then you get the fruit off it. It's for me, this is just like it is kind of like a hoppy Munich Helles.
Very dry in finish though. Want you to go back to second. It's that dry.
Oh yeah. It's easy. You could say this is easily a tannable beer. You could make a few of these quite easily. Yeah, I'm going to say straight away, I like this one. I think this is good. Have they done this with other hops as well?
Not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, this is the recipe. I say just because of the malt billet varies between 4.7 and 5. This is 5, and I think it said May was 5 as well. So they're keeping it at that sort of level.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I'd say about this, on the basis of this, I'd be very curious to see what Glasshouse can do on the West Coast side of things. It is, I've complained about this in videos before. Too many breweries are just doing haze craze and not enough West Coast. There's not enough black. On the basis of what you've got here, you've got a solid lager. I think these guys could do a really nice old school West Coast IPA.
Yeah, especially at the minute they're concentrating on the pales, specifically fruity pales. But yeah, certainly a West Coast would be interesting. We also discussed earlier about them only having really one dark beer, which is an Imperial Stout. They're really very early in this brewery's history.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the thing with this brewery. It was, as we said earlier in the video, 2016. They really got brewing here about 2019, and the tap room opened.
It was open briefly, and then the pandemic. So
yeah, it's kind of just before the pandemic. Now it's actually taken off. But yeah, let's break this down a wee bit more. Let's do that. So malt base for me, red crust, soft white bread, pale malt definitely.
yeah,
I don't get so much in the way of a Pilsner malt Christmas out of this one. I think this is lager malt rather than Pilsner malt.
yeah, which makes sense with an IPL.
Yeah. On the back third of the palate, there is a wee bit of an almost wheaty breadiness, but I get a bit of cracker, like Jacob's cream cracker out of this.
Especially with that drying sensation, that really emphasises that.
Yeah, you do get a bit of Jacob's cream cracker out of this the further into the taste you go. Maybe in the middle of the palate, a wee tiny touch of like McVitie's digestive biscuit, something like that. But this really is more like a crackery, white bready thing for me.
Yeah. Almost with a bit of spice as well, I'd say, with the hops.
It's almost got like a wee. I almost get a wee bit of that in the yeasty side of things too, like a little tiny wee bit of coriander. But yeah, there is spice on the green component. Do you want to lead with that then, green component of the beer? What do you think?
It's very grassy. The hops. From Amarillo, you'd expect oily, but it's really not, is it? It's a dry, grassy sensation that you get on it, almost straw-like. But yeah, that spicy component is really. it's not overpowering, but it's really noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I reckon in the back corners of the palate there is a wee bit of earthy herbal thing too, and that's adding to the sort of little bit of spice that you get from the yeast, I think. But then, yes, you come further forward, you do get a bit of that floral aromatic spice, and I think that's probably early edition hops. I think this one's had a good bit of early edition hop, but then probably a bit of late and a bit of dry hopping as well, because you definitely get that wee bit of dankness out of it as well. I get a wee bit of dankness in the aftertaste.
It definitely has that dank heaviness hanging around your palate.
But I think what Adam's saying as well about it being grassy, it really does lean towards that. I get quite a lot. The thing I've noticed about these Glasshouse beers is that the green component is always quite wet, and it's a wet grassiness on the front of the palate I'm getting from this. Yeah, fruity side of things, what do you reckon?
Lemony, a little bit, but that orange from the Amarillo does. I know I said from grapefruit, but yeah, the orange does shine through as well, especially on the back end of it, where as it's drying out, you're getting that sort of almost crystallised orange kind of crispness.
I think so. I mean, yeah, I can see in the aroma where you get the pink grapefruit from it. It has a wee bit of that almost cascadey type thing to it. But for me, yeah, it's that big oily orange, and I always find Amarillo's a bit more oily and a bit more zesty than Mosaic. Mosaic's a bit juicier.
Yeah.
And of course you've got Mandarin of Bavaria and these other ones. Pacifica from New Zealand's another one. And what's the other's another one? With the coconut. Sabro can give you like a sharp Mandarin as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, tangerine Mandarin all the way on Sabro.
Yeah, but this one for me, I almost get like a little bit of this, like underneath the orange. It feels like a bit sultana or hairy to me a little bit almost.
At the very end, there's a lot of flavour as it dries on the back of the palate. You get in quite a lot of flavour that comes through all at the end.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I'm thinking about this beer overall, it's quite like a Munich Helles. Just a bit more juicy and hoppy, like an American hopped Munich Helles. That's what this reminds me of. It's an IPL though. That would make sense. Describing it this way would make sense. You could make this beer a bit more creamy and things, and that would make it like a Czech lager, Czech Pilsner.
Probably you've got the danger of going too close to an IPA at that point.
Yes, yeah, that's the thing. But whatever it is, this is nice. I would certainly recommend this. It'd be cool to try this with a bit of like Nelson Sauvin or a bit of, not Strata, what's the one I'm thinking? Enigma would be a good hop for this.
Well, they do that in the Soulless series, which is the Soloist series, which is where they do their showcases hops. So we've had for that Citra, Simcoe, and the most recent one on today, which is Strata. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see an IPL take on that.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see them do a few more IPLs, because the base they've got here is obviously very strong. Just play with the hops. Mouthfeel then, what do you reckon?
Not as thin as you'd expect from a lager, but that drying sensation is a massive overrider for me. It almost draws the moisture out of the corners of your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I take this in, it's definitely top end of light bodied, I think. Carbonation's a bit crisp, it's quite oily in the beginning, but then it dries. I think it dries, and you get this yeasty, crackery thing that we were talking about earlier, almost spicy as well. What do you reckon on the IBU?
With it being single hopped, I wouldn't say high, because you've got that sort of, I know it's initial bitter, but you've also got the dryness. I have no idea. I want to say in the 50s, but maybe it's not that high.
I think I could see 40 or 50 with this. It feels a wee bit more bitter, but I've gotten this wrong before.
Yeah.
I've gotten this wrong. IBUs are my weakest point of beer review, so I could see this being a 40 or 50 IBU beer. Malt base, as we said, is quite crisp. There is a slight degree of sweetness to it. I think this beer gets more oily the more that you drink of it.
Or even, I say I've got to towards the end of it now, and it's still, that oiliness still retains in your mouth, and it builds.
It's nice. This one though, as we say, like a more fruity, juicy version of a Munich Helles Lager for me, and it has that dryness in the aftertaste. This is good. So is it Jagged Sky, 5%, Amarillo hopped IPL. Really enjoyed this, and very nice to have Adam on for a taste as well. So yeah, we're going to do one more because you guys would tell me I should try one of the fruit pale ales. So yeah, we'll do that as our last tasting, and I'll catch you guys with that in just a second. Slange just now.
Cheers.
Alright guys, so I just noticed there were some of the labels on the wall here. So yeah, Glasshouse, Chasing Tomorrow Pale Ale, the Mood Indigo IPA, the Sakura IPA, which we'll see in this video, the Year of Hibernation California IPA. I would have loved to have tried a good West Coast while I was here. The Holocene and India Pale Lager. Then this one was a collaboration with Brumhouse. This is a double dry hopped pale ale, limited edition, birthday release apparently. Then the Glasshouse, simply called double IPA, and then the Munari Session Pale. So yeah, some nice labels here on the wall just behind where the guys were chilling. Always cool to put little things like this in the video. Alright guys, well, time for our fourth and final tasting then here at Glasshouse Brewery. So this is a beer that Harry recommended to me. This is a brewery he's very familiar with. Can you introduce this one?
So this is Deep Seeded. They do a new version or a different version of this every single time. It's based off the song Deep Seeded Decay from the Streets, which is what the owner of the brewery, Josh, he really likes the streets and he plays along the streets when he would be here. He played the streets all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Deep Seeded. It is you change the fruit every single time. This time it is blueberry and blackcurrant. So sometimes it's a bit red currant, and sometimes it's a bit typically blueberry and blackcurrant.
Okay, so it's a pale ale, blueberry and blackcurrant.
Yes, fruit IPA.
Okay. What percentage was it?
I think it was ABV off the top, I can't remember. I think it was quite low, 4%.
4%. Alright, cool. Well guys, yeah, as you can see, appearance-wise, this one, lovely sort of burgundy colour. Heart of Midlothian football shirt, as we can see. The head on this one, kind of creamy coloured, but it's got a little bit of that kind of pink tinge as you would expect when you've got blueberry and blackcurrant in it. There is a steady stream of carbonation going up toward the top of that head. It's kind of what you'd expect from a fruit pale ale, fruit IPA, whatever this beer would actually be considered as. Looks nice.
Yeah.
Aroma? It's actually, it's interesting, it's almost like a lager just with fruit on it.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of the IPL that I had with Adam,
It's not insanely sour, and I think that's the way that this beer always does well.
Yeah.
It's not super sour, not super tart as well.
Yeah.
But I think on this one, the blueberry really does lead.
Yeah, it's got that. I think the blueberry just gives you that more kind of tartness to it, but it's also got that juiciness in the background. So what was that again? Blueberry and black currant. Yeah, because the currants are going to give you the juicy sort of thing, but this one, yeah, the blueberry really gives you the tartness for sure. Ribena.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
It is
There's
Ribena.
like a little bit of creaminess as well, lurking in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Ribena. But other than that, once you get past that tartness, the blueberry tartness and the juicy black currant, I always find currants are juicier than berries. Yeah, if that makes sense. It's always the berries that give you the tartness. This one for me is really, it's quite straightforward. There's a bit of bread crust, white bread, maybe a teeny wee hint of like a biscuit, maybe at least digestive biscuit. Exactly. I mean, the thing is, whenever you add fruit into beer as an adjunct, it's always going to dominate to an extent, isn't it? I mean, on the hoppy side of things, for me, grassy.
Yeah, it's light.
But I mean, I always find these, if you can class this as a sour beer, but I always find that sour beers are quite straightforward in terms of their you know, aroma and flavour profiles, but if they're done well, they're just really nice. And that's what you're getting from this one for sure. It's an interesting beer. This, I don't think. Is there anything else we can say about the aroma? I think it's a bit of white bread, bit of bread crust, wee touch of biscuit, sharp black currants, sharp blueberries, juicier black currants, and then a wee bit of grass.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, slange it. That's really nice.
That's a new blueberry coffee, I think.
Yeah.
Creamy, back end. A little bit of biscuity note towards the back end. Sweetness.
You know, for me, the first thing that comes to mind, and I was saying this with the IPL with Adam, it really has a bit of a German nature to it. It almost has a bit of that German hellish smoothness. That's what the first thing that comes to mind with me with this beer.
I think that's the thing that I think in general Glasshouse beers are always quite easy to drink. It's the thing that Josh will never do. He'll never do something similar with it.
Yeah.
It's always quite low ABV because it's designed for people to enjoy. He just wants to have a nice business
Yeah.
and people have a good time with afternoon. And this, in this beer, it's quite low ABV again, and then it tastes nice and fruity, sessionable.
Yeah, I mean I can see exactly that. It really does have a bit of that German. For me, as I say, it has a bit of that German Brauhaus nature to it. But I've noticed that with these Glasshouse beers, they all feel quite wet and just quite easy going. So let's look at the malt base first. Then let's break that malt base down. It's kind of like this is one of these beers where it really the aroma and the flavour really match up. Bread crust, soft like fluffy white bread.
Yeah.
Wee bit of biscuit in the middle of the palate, but that takes a bit of time to come out.
It's almost like the biscuitness for me is more yeast from the yeast. I tend to get that kind of biscuity notes inside of it, but biscuity, bready, a light note to it as well. Very light.
I can see that. Yeah. That's a really like subtle aftertaste. Yeah, it's really an undertone in the aftertaste. I can get that. I think back third of the palate, it almost feels as if it has a wee touch of wheatiness to it.
Yeah, no, I reckon.
So I think, like you say, that dry, torrefied wheat. Yeah. So I think there's a wee touch of dry, torrefied wheat in this one for sure. But I can see exactly why you guys were saying, you need to try one of the fruity pale ales. Because the thing is, I'm not normally keen on fruited pale ales, fruited IPAs, but this is nice. It's almost like a slightly less creamy Berliner Weisse in some ways.
Yeah. Without all that sharp sourness.
Yeah.
It's much more muted.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I seem to remember, weirdly, the first time that a deep-seated beer came out, I want to say it was around about 2018. I seem to remember being on the opening weekend of the store, on the opening weekend when they first launched the tap room. So that's when deep seated came out first. They have some red currant inside.
Yeah, it's really nice, and the malt. Yeah, it's just such an easygoing beer. Hoppy wise, wee teeny bit of like a noble earthiness.
Yeah.
Wee touch herbal, grassy.
Yeah, there's a faint element of spiciness just kicking in, right? But it's linked because it's just dominated by the fruit. It's hard to really put it out. It's kind of hides underneath that very sound. It is there, but it's quite.
Yeah, no, it's very light. It has, as I said, for me, this beer is just it's like a very light drink. It really, if I was tasting this blind, I'd think it was a Berliner Weisse, but a very light one. I don't think I'd identify this as a pale ale, to be quite honest. But I like this. This is the big thing. You can try and put beers in styles, but the main question is it a nice beer? And with this beer, it's an overwhelming yes, I think, from both of us. Yeah. Fruity side of things, when you take this beer in, the tartness is blueberry. I think the black currant comes out later. You get that juicy black currant out of it.
There's It's not overly. You always think with black currants it's sharp. And I think with this, it's not overly sharp, too tart. It's really quite fruity.
I think it's something I've kind of got used to with the Nordic. You know, we were talking about the smoothie sours, the Nordic sours. The berries are always sharp, but the currants are soft. I don't know how big that is in the English beer scene yet, but that's something that's really noticeable in the Swedish beer scene for sure. So yeah, I get the tart blueberries, then the juicy black currants. The thing you also notice about these fruit beers is that when you add fruit as an adjunct, it suppresses a bit of the green component in the beer. So you can feel that there is a bit of grassiness there, but it takes some time to come out because of the juiciness of the fruit. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Anything else? No, I think mouthfeel then.
It's relatively. I'd say it's relatively full at the same time. It's that creaminess, but I'd say it's bitter full.
I'd say it's right on that border, like top end of mid body, bottom end of full bodies. It has the carbonation is quite nice because it still gives you a bit of crispness almost in a way, but it's oily and it's slightly creamy. I mean, the more that you drink it, I think you get more and more wheat out of this the more you drink of it.
The crispness from it comes a little bit out of the kind of acidity, the way the kind of spritzy bubbles of the acidity sharpen it down a little bit, but then at the same time it's fruity, thick, and creamy. I wouldn't say it was a good sometimes. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't quite get the creaminess or the dryness that you can get from malts. I think pale malt and wheat. I think torrefied wheat definitely.
Yeah.
Could be a little touch of golden promise.
Yeah, or even just a standard wheat malt. I think. Well, I know he is a big fan of maltodextrin.
Yeah.
He does use a lot more dextrin malt.
Ah, okay. That would make sense.
He does use a bit of that. So.
Because dextrin will give you that big, smooth, white bready sort of thing.
Because you'll never use lactose. You'll never use lactose in beer, but I'm fairly sure, well, speaking of the past,
that would make sense for this beer. I think IBU wise, I think it feels like a 0 IBU, but I think you're 5 to 10 at most. There will be a little bit of IBU. There's 5 to 10. Malt base, as we said, smooth, bready, teeny bit of biscuit. I think a little bit of fruity juicy, to be honest with you, which is what you'd expect from a fruit IPA, fruit daily or something like that. This is an awesome beer, this one. So, what did you say it was called again? Sorry, the Deep Seeded. Just behind us they've got the tents, and because it's been raining a lot, the water is kind of getting blown out of that. So that's the big splash that you heard. So this was the Deep Seeded 0622, June 2022. This was a recommendation from both Harry, Adam, and Charles. I think was saying I should try this as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. This was our final tasting, and I'll give you my final thoughts before we finish up here at Glasshouse. But as I say, this is a brewery that Harry is very familiar with, so quite nice to check this one out with him and Adam, and always nice to do a tasting with Harry. So catch you guys in just a second. Cheers. Alright guys, well that is us finished here at Glasshouse in Sturchley in the southern part of Birmingham in England. So really impressed with the quality of the beers here. We had 2 New England IPAs, both of which I really enjoyed. The IPL was very nice, and we also had the fruit pale ale as well, which was great. So really glad that I got to visit this brewery and actually try the beers for the first time at the brewery. That's a little bit unique actually here on Rampant Lion Reviews. In terms of the experience in the tap room, the one thing that was really annoying was the music. I actually went up to the bar and asked them to turn it down. They did, and then they turned it up, and that was really fucking annoying, to be quite honest with you. As you might have heard in the video, the music's pretty basic. It's not mood music or anything like that. It was just a bit shit, to be honest with you, and I was a bit annoyed that I went and asked them to turn it down, then about a minute or two later they just tried to sneak it up. So that was a bit shitty, to be quite honest with you. Was not impressed with that in the slightest. But in terms of the beer, we each bought a round. There was 4 of us here. For my round I paid £9 sterling, so that is about €11, $11 American, maybe about yeah, 110 Swedish krona, something like that. So yeah, for 4 half pints, you know, 300 milliliters roughly, I thought that was pretty good, a lot cheaper than Sweden anyway. But yeah, very, very good quality beer here at Glasshouse, but I think I would just get rid of the music in here. Maybe it's just me kind of going into beer on the German Brauhaus experiences, but listening to kind of shitty music when you're drinking really nice beer is not that nice. So good experience with the beer, had good fun with Harry, Charles and Adam, but yeah, was quite annoyed at the bar staff for the shit with the music and just, yeah, putting shitty music on, to be honest with you. As I've told you many a time, I'm a metalhead, but you know, put on some, you know, put on a bit of piano music or a bit of mood music. Don't put on just really basic shitty stuff. So yeah, I would recommend coming and checking out Glasshouse for the beer, but just be aware you are going to be subjected to some pretty shitty music, to be honest with you. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed another out and about experience here. Nice to visit Glasshouse and try the beers on tap at source for the very first time. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one, but I will try and get a can of Glasshouse and do a proper sit down review with you very, very soon on the channel. Thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Adam at Mersey Beers, and also Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews as well. And I will see you guys in another out and about video very shortly. Slanger just now.